PVZ Garden Warfare 1 and 2 have been around for a while now, so it's safe to assume that they have had their fair share of secrets and obscure parts that few people know about. This iceberg chart will walk you through a good amount of them. If you don't know what an iceberg chart is, it's basically a way of sorting information from the most well-known things to the least well-known. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Boss Mode was a playable mode in Garden Warfare 1, where instead of controlling a plant or a zombie character, you would instead be in control of a flying vehicle in the air that could give aerial support to your respective team. There were 4 abilities you could use: one that tracks enemies, one that revives teammates faster, one that heals teammates faster, and one that acts as an airstrike on the enemy team. In order to perform these actions, you had to collect either sun or brains depending on the team you were on, similar to how you would in the original Plants vs Zombies. While in this mode, you had 2000 health, which is a crazy number when you consider that the highest health of a regular character was the All-Star Zombie with only 200 health. While being damaged, there are 3 different states of damage the vehicle could be in, before exploding when it reaches 0 health. Boss Mode unfortunately was not on Xbox 360 or PS3, nor did it make a return in Garden Warfare 2. While I couldn't find anything for Garden Warfare 1, Garden Warfare 2 has a surprisingly active modding community. These mods range from cosmetic and visual changes for just the user, to downright hacking the game to be able to spam infinite abilities, or simply just to be unkillable. Due to the lack of support in the game in 2025, this has become an increasingly common issue, with people still complaining about these mods to this day. During my research, I only found cosmetic mods that I could download, so I don't know if the disruptive mods are more underground, or if the modding sites hosting them have finally started cracking down on them. Mid-air burrowing is a visual glitch that occurs when a chomper is seemingly able to vanquish a zombie that is currently in the air on both Garden Warfare 1 and 2. This is caused by an issue known as desync, where due to connection and ping differences across devices, the visuals of 2 or more players are slightly different, causing them to think that they are in a different position to where they actually are. In the case of the mid-air burrow, the zombie player thinks they're currently in the air, while the game thinks they are on the ground, allowing the chomper player to vanquish the zombie player. As updates for both games have ceased, I don't think this is getting fixed anytime soon. The Yeti is a zombie boss monster in the Garden Ops game mode on Garden Warfare 1 and 2. He appears like any other zombie until you finally kill him, where you'll find that not only does he explode on death, but when he dies you can see wires, gears and other machinery come out of him. His death cry also has some static and robotic noises in the background, further suggesting he is in fact a robot. Finally, the zombies all claim that they are not robots and that those claims are from a crazy person, which is thought to be Crazy Dave. But we know that Dave isn't actually crazy and can have moments of genius, so this claim by the zombies may not exactly be truthful. The Gravedigger was an unused class of zombie that was later scrapped and replaced by the Scientist class. This class used a shotgun and would be able to place tombstones which could be used to shield AI zombies. The reason for it being scrapped was the lack of variance that the developers were able to come up with. It was then going to become a boss enemy for Garden Ops, but was again dropped for Baron von Bats instead. The Gravedigger lives on though, as Baron von Bat is known as Gravedigger in the game files, and the launch day icons for the Baron were the icons originally made for the Gravedigger. On the map Zomboss Estate in Garden Warfare 1, there is a small clearing in the trees bordering the map where you can see the popular creepypasta character Slenderman. In later updates, this Easter egg was changed to show its Slenderman being eaten by a chomper. Garden Warfare 1 has a huge amount of concept art for various characters featured in the final release of the game. On screen now are some of my personal favourites, but unfortunately I couldn't fit them all into this segment. If you want to have a look for yourself, I've linked the wiki page for the concept art in the description. In Garden Warfare 2, there was a hidden puzzle involving fish that you could interact with around the backyard battleground area of the game. You would have to go and interact with 10 fish in a certain order, and then you'd have to go back to a specific rock at the edge of the map near the ocean to claim your reward for the puzzle, which was a hat for the scientist called Ribbit. In Garden Warfare 1, there were 3 promotional plants added to the game at certain points in time. The first 2 of these were the Citrus Cactus and Berry Shooter, a cactus and a pea shooter variant who both released as part of the Tactical Taco Party DLC on July 1st, 2014. They were added to promote the Aquafina Flavor Splash line of drinks. The third and fourth promotional characters to be added were the Chester Chomper and Dr. Chester Chomper variants, who were added on August 19th, 2014 as part of the Cheetos DLC. These characters originally could only be obtained by buying specially marked brands of Cheetos that had a code inside that the player could redeem to get the DLC. This period of exclusivity ended on September 5th, 2014, where they were made available for everyone to obtain for free, due to many of the physical codes not working, and the entire promotion ended on September 26th, 2014. Mystery of the Moon is a mission on Garden Warfare 2 that is only available while installing the game. In the mission, you play as the base Citron variant, who travels through the Moonbase Z Herbal Assault map, eliminating hordes of AI zombies, with a new section of the mission being unlocked each time the player goes through the teleporter at the end of every section. Once you go through each area of the map, you get sent to the Moon Nexus, which has all of the teleporters and a control panel you can interact with to replay the mission in hard mode. I think this is referring to an article on the Plants vs Zombies character creator wiki that describes the Scaredy Shroom as a class of sniper in Garden Warfare 2 that was ultimately replaced with the Cactus before release. The Scaredy Shroom would have 125 health, be a more stealth-focused plant with abilities such as the Cherry Bomb, which can be used to sneak up on zombies and launch a cherry bomb at them from a distance, and would have a primary weapon called the Scaredy Shot, which damages zombies from afar. There are 6 proposed variants of the Scaredy Shroom, which are all traditional variants that change up the elemental damage the plant deals. Alongside Cherry Bomb, it also had 5 other abilities proposed. Scaredy Decoy, which deploys a lawnmower with a Scaredy Shroom on it that shoots at enemies. This decoy also does have its own set of abilities. Hide, which camouflages the Scaredy Shroom and burrows it to the ground. When it unburrows, it launches zombies in the air but does not deal damage. Lychee Bomb, the alternative of Cherry Bomb that has a shorter radius but shoots spines that deal damage upon explosion. Speedy Decoy, the alternative of Scaredy Decoy that has lower health but faster shooting speed. And Camp, the alternative of Hide that gives less camouflage but the Scaredy Shroom gets a low damage weapon for the duration of the ability. In Backyard Battleground in Garden Warfare 2, you're able to go through the houses of each of the in-universe heroes, and if you go to Captain Deadbeard's house, you'll find that he has a plush toy of an in-universe plant, Rose. This has led fans to think that Captain Deadbeard may have a crush on Rose. In Garden Warfare 2, whenever you leveled up a character, you'd get 1 level on your profile, which you could see next to your name. If you got 100 of these, you'd get a rank plate, and your level would reset to 1, similar to how Prestige works in a lot of games. Max out every character and you get to level 5455, or rank 54 level 55. However, in 2018 there was speculation that new characters could be added to the game, as a rank plate for 55 was found in the game files around this time. As of 2025 though, there have sadly been no new characters added to the game. Gnome Vision is a visual effect given by the Gnomish Perspective hat in Garden Warfare 2, and can only be obtained after collecting all of the golden gnomes across the game. When this effect is applied, all enemies and vanquished enemy allies are highlighted in blue, making it useful for seeing through smoke screens and for aiming when playing as a sniper class. On some maps though, it's ineffective and can actually hinder vision due to the colours blending in with each other. This is a mod for Garden Warfare 2 made by Mr. JT that adds the ability to play as the Gargantua zombie, who otherwise is only an AI zombie boss. The class has a primary attack called Gargantua Slam, which slams the wooden beam he's holding into the ground, causing significant damage and splash damage at the cost of a very long reload time, However, it does only appear to have one working ability, which is to throw an imp. The mod does not work in multiplayer, so it can only be used in Backyard Battleground. Boss hunts are a game mode that can only be accessed by using the mystery portal in the town hall in Garden Warfare 2, where you would go in and fight a boss enemy that would give rewards when killed. There are several of these bosses that never made it into the final game. These bosses include Imitator, based on the plant of the same name from the original PVZ, who would appear as a stick of butter until approached, and would then transform into any of the zombie bosses you would then have to fight. Super Chili Bean, which was a stronger version of the Super Bean plant boss, had a 500 health shield, and instead of doing a Super Bean laser attack, it would fire 2 lasers of the same strength, apparently being able to kill a player zombie in around 2 seconds. It was also planned to spawn Chili Bean bombs when it teleported, but this was never added in the end. Orange Juice Robot, which doesn't have much information except that if you spawn in its wave data and boss data, it spawns a swarm of citrons and a torchwood respectively. Fiddles the Crab, again another boss with nearly no information. The only data that is really known about this boss is its boss hunt icon. Ancient Oak, which is only referenced by name once in the game files, is thought to be an unused boss hunt boss. And Royal Hypno Flower and Captain Smasher were also going to get Mystery Portal boss hunt variants, but these were eventually scrapped. In the Herbal Assault map Zomburbia, you can actually find Crazy Dave's original house from Plants vs Zombies 1 at the plant spawn area, down to the checkered lawn and the tricycle outside the door. In fact, the whole map is actually supposed to be the neighbourhood from the original game. The only thing I could find about this is in reference to the Herbal Assault map Zombopolis in Garden Warfare 2, where one of the loading screens shows a Zomboss Statue of Liberty wrapped in a giant tentacle. Torchwood and Hovergo are the 2 bonus characters for the zombies and the plants respectively. When you unlock them in game, you may notice that they are the only characters that do not have any variants to them, and only have costumes. However, at some point in time the costumes were thought to actually be variants, as data miners were able to find a scrapped Torchwood ability in the game files, and according to this one Reddit thread, they also found icons for the different variants that then became the costumes. The only thing I could find relating to this is the spawnable potted plant called the Crystal Guardian, that functions as the plant version of the Zomboss turret, dealing 5 damage per shot. It can only be spawned by Rose's ability. I guess this is on here because despite it being referred to as a plant all the time, it's actually not made of any plant matter at all, but I'm not too sure. Hey, so quick editor's note, while I was editing this video, I found why it's on the iceberg. Basically, like the Engineer's turrets, crystals were meant to have 3 tiers as well, but the other 2 tiers got scrapped in development. Renegade Imp is a scrapped imp that would have been part of the unused Pup and Wolf boss hunt in Garden Warfare 2. This imp would have had 500 health and also had 3 abilities. Cluster Cannons, which are a homing variant of the usual imp mech missiles, Smoky Motors, which would summon an airstrike of 5 zombie stink clouds, and Gravity Missile, which would launch 5 gravity grenades at the target. It's unknown why this boss was scrapped, but it's thought to have been scrapped to work on the Imitator boss, which was also unused. I think this is referring to the invisible glitch on Garden Warfare 1, where on certain maps such as the Main Street or Cactus Canyon, you, along with most of the things in the map like enemy players, objects and plant pots, would disappear, and you also can't shoot or interact with anything in the map. The only way to fix this is to restart the entire game, but you can regain shooting ability if you somehow die and get revived while still in the game. Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare is the 3rd installment of the Plants vs Zombies comic series made by Paul Tobin and Jacob Chabo, and revolves around how Zomboss took over Suburbia before the events of Garden Warfare 2. I don't think I can really explain the plot better than what's already written on the PVZ wiki page, so I'm just going to read that instead. Dr. Zomboss finds a metallic butt from the future. Then, many imps come to Suburbia. Zomboss talks to his henchman about the metallic butt and opens a portal. Nate and Patrice fight the imps. Sounds like a banger, you know. I'm gonna be reading that. In Garden Warfare 2, Crazy Dave can sometimes be seen in the RV at the start and end of Garden Ops, implying that he is the driver of the RV. This is further backed up in Garden Warfare 1, where if you destroy the RV plant boss, the kill message says, "Destroyed Crazy Dave." I'm not sure why Super Bean is here on his own, but this could be referring to how overpowered he is when you try to fight him. He has 700 health on easy mode, can't be hit when his shield is up, fires lasers from his eyes that can deal 20 damage in a single burst, and can teleport around as much as he wants. There's also a glitch where if he activates his shield at the same time he goes into his overbeam state, where he shoots a laser out of his mouth dealing insane damage, he can't be damaged at all, making him pretty much invincible. In the Gardens and Graveyards map Great White North, you can see some Arctic troopers encased in ice around the map. A few are next to the first garden, and there's one frozen in a sculpture at the second objective. This isn't the only time Arctic troopers get stuck though, there are a few in Frosty Creek and Zomburbia too. Garden Warfare had a couple of crossovers with different games and brands. I've already mentioned the brands, but one game they did have a crossover with was Mass Effect. This first began with a small Easter egg in the map Jewel Junction, where you could see one of the ships present in the Mass Effect series on a passing train. Then, in Mass Effect Andromeda, if you looked on one of the crew's beds, you'd find a scientist and pea shooter plush straight from Plants vs Zombies. And then finally, as a pre-order bonus for Garden Warfare 2, you could get a Grass Effect Z7 mech variant for the Imp. The magnifying grass from PVZ 2 was planned to be added to the game as a summonable potted plant, however it was scrapped for some reason before release. It would have acted as a support plant, lowering the damage that enemies dealt rather than directly dealing damage to them. The model and abilities of the plant are still in the game files, and were able to be reconstructed into something that could resemble what its intended game design was going to be like. The team swap glitch was an exploit on Garden Warfare 1 that let you join the other team while still being able to play as the character you already are. In order to achieve this, you have to first make sure there is an opening on the other team. Then press A and right bumper at the same time on the controller and you'll see that the character you're already playing as is highlighted and can be selected. The character you chose was fully playable, minus some glitchy animations when doing stuff like eating a chomper as a chomper. This glitch eventually got patched with the release of the Tactical Taco Party DLC in July 2014. Power Lily was a scrapped potted plant intended to be in Garden Warfare 2, based off of the Power Lily from PVZ 2. When planted, the Power Lily would buff the damage output of all the plants in the area, like the damage puff beam on the Hovergo. When hacked into the game, it uses the Sunflower's heal beam as a way of increasing damage. In the Garden Warfare 2 variant of Walnut Hills, there is a visual glitch that occurs when an engineer upgrades the turrets found at each objective to Mark II. Instead of the Mark II texture appearing, there is a broken Mark III turret instead, which is prone to visual glitches. It still functions like a Mark II turret and can still be upgraded into a Mark III turret, where then the glitch resolves. Zomburger Artist, or Delivery Goat, is a character featured in the delivery quests in Garden Warfare 2, where the player has to go through various checkpoints in the given time in order to deliver a burger. The way you're able to play as this character outside of the quests is as follows. First, make sure that your next plant story quest is Happy Leaf Day. Next, as a plant, go to DaveBot 3000 and when you go to talk to him, press the pause button at the same time as the talk button. If you've done this right, you should see him in the centre of your screen behind the pause menu. Then, respawn as a zombie, and the DaveBot dialogue should appear while you're loading along with the quest spawn. Now, you'll respawn in the plant base as a zombie. Destroy the gift that spawns outside the plant base, causing you to fail the quest. Then, go to the Zomburger and start the Dog Dash quest. On checkpoint 4 of the quest, wait for the timer to almost end, then tackle into it. This will cause you to go into the checkpoint and fail the quest at the same time. Repeat this a few times until the timer does not appear when you restart the quest. Once this happens, go to the final checkpoint, but don't enter it. Instead, head back to Plant Base and destroy the gift from earlier again. This will make sure you fail the plant quest again, as well as the Dock Dash quest, but you'll find that you're still Delivery Go, and you can play Backyard Battleground as normal as this new character. In the Garden Warfare 1 map, Port Scallywag, there is a giant shark Easter egg that can be found by going into the photo booth inside the ship. If you then press all 4 taunt buttons at the same time, the camera will flash. Head outside and you'll see a giant shark come out of the ocean before going back down again. From what I could tell, this was a set of unused variants for the HoverGo 3000 that somehow had some Garden Warfare 1 files as well. There's a lot of conflicting info online about this, with one Reddit thread claiming it was unused Garden Warfare 2 content, but another calling it a test character from Garden Warfare 1 for Garden Warfare 2, and even potentially Garden Warfare 3. There's also a video that the second poster linked that shows the laser goat modded into Garden Warfare 2. And they weren't kidding, he does definitely have a laser. This is an Easter egg on the Moon Base Z map on Garden Warfare 2 that is similar to the shark Easter egg mentioned earlier. To activate it, 10 players need to stand on specific ledges towards the start of the map, and when they do, a giant worm will come out of a crater and start moving back and forth. This moon worm is also mentioned in various areas throughout the map, with posters talking about moon worm sushi and some graffiti warning of the moon worm's danger. On the Garden Warfare 1 map Main Street, there is a billboard that shows a pale looking imp holding a camera. This is thought to be a human imp, as it has a similar posture and facial expression to the imps found in the main PVZ games. This is a Garden Warfare 2 glitch that allows you to morph the appearance traits of 2 different characters into one playable plant or zombie. The glitch works as follows. First, die. It doesn't matter as long as you can be revived by another player. Next, get revived by another player, but the moment you're about to be revived, press the swap character button. Your background should be an underside view of the map. Then, choose the character you want to morph with, customize it however you want, and then wait until your view automatically shifts to where you died. Then, respawn and play as normal, if you can. Once this glitch is performed, you can no longer access the leaderboard for the duration of the morph, and to go back to normal, just switch your character again. Apparently an infamous combo for this is Chomper and Torchwood, as aiming makes you invisible. As the scientist in Garden Warfare 2, it is possible to warp out of bounds by using the warp ability. Generally, this is done by going to a cramped corner and warping, and if done right, you'll no-clip out the map and start falling until all you can see is the map background. Once you do this, you can no longer do anything except quit the game or wait for the match to finish. The Garden Warfare 2 map Seeds of Time mentions that it was actually built by a group of wizards in 1202. But who could these wizards possibly be? We know that time travel is possible in the PVZ universe, Seeds of Time being an example, as well as the entirety of Plants vs Zombies 2. But does this mean that anyone can time travel, or do they have to be magic? Well, my best guess is the gnomes and the wizards, as they're the only group in the game to have magical properties that we see time and time again, and they are capable of creating time portals as shown in the Garden Warfare comics. However, that is just a theory. In the Infinity Time game mode on Garden Warfare 2, if you go to the left of the spawn, you'll see a cave. If you go inside this cave, you'll find a list of the names of all the developers who worked on the game, which is pretty cool. If you look at the sticker book description for Superbrains in Garden Warfare 2, you'll find out that he was actually made in a lab for the sole purpose of fighting in the Battle of Zomburbia. He also apparently thinks he is constantly on a set of an 80s action movie, which, you know what, makes a lot of sense. This is a visual bug that sets your character's level to 0 instead of 1 when promoting from level 10. This is easily fixed by vanquishing an enemy to get to level 1. You don't get a rank up from going to level 0 to 1, and it's possible that the code and the sprite for this level were left over from some alpha or beta feature that never made it into the final game. This is a glitch you can perform in the backyard battleground in order to stop taking damage as either a plant or a zombie. How you do it is by going to a decoration like a statue and pressing the edit and menu buttons at the same time. If you've done it right, both menus should be on the screen at the same time. Then, just back out into the battleground and you should no longer take damage. However, if you get goatified by Rose as a zombie, you will lose your invincibility. Zombot is the big robot that the plants have to destroy as a plant at the end of the Zombopolis Gardens and Graveyards map in Garden Warfare 2. However, its first appearance was actually in the E3 launch trailer for the original Garden Warfare, but was not added to the final game. During the Zombopolis map in Garden Warfare 2, there is a point where you go through a scrapyard where trains move in and out every now and then. Once they go out of the tunnel though, they don't despawn straight away. They instead go far out of the map before stopping and despawning. Trains coming through the tunnel into the map are also seen at this point and take a while before reaching the playable area. There are several different spawn and despawn points depending on which tunnel the train is going through. From what I could find, this is referring to a couple of audio files from Garden Warfare 1 that weren't used in Garden Warfare 1, but were used in Garden Warfare 2. It could be that they just decided to recycle them for Garden Warfare 2, as they weren't needed for Garden Warfare 1, especially considering one of the files is for an imp ability only seen in Garden Warfare 2. SWAT Zombie is a scrap zombie variant that can be seen in the concept art for Garden Warfare 1. As the name suggests, the zombie is wearing a SWAT uniform. This zombie was eventually replaced by the foot soldier at some point in time before the release of the game. When Garden Warfare 2 released, players would get rewarded cosmetics and characters based on their rank in the original Garden Warfare. When Battle for Neighborville released, many players expected EA to do the same thing with Garden Warfare 2 ranks, but this did not happen. Instead, they decided to make Founders Rewards, which you got for buying the Founders Edition of the game. This doesn't sound bad on paper, until you realise that the rewards you get are based on the time at which you bought the edition of the game. So if you got it on week 4 before full release, you'd miss out on the rewards from weeks 1, 2 and 3. So far, these rewards have never been obtainable again, to my knowledge. In Garden Warfare 1, there are 2 loading themes that went unused in the final game, but can still be found in the files. They're nothing crazy, but still pretty chill. This is a theory stemming from Garden Warfare 2, and is subsequently solved by the Garden Warfare 2 prequel comics mentioned earlier in the Iceberg. In the comic Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 4, it's mentioned that during the events of the comic, all humans in Neighborville are sent to an ice cream cruise as a distraction to the coming invasion. However, it never mentions that they came back from said cruise, as the only humans we see past this point in the comic are Crazy Dave and the 2 protagonists. This means it's safe to assume that they also were on this ice cream cruise for the events of Garden Warfare 2 as well. Sports Juice was a scrapped ability for the All-Star in Garden Warfare 1, being replaced by the Dummy Shield. This ability would make him, quote, Hulk out, and it's thought that this would give him a limited time melee or close range attack. There is some concept art for this ability, but as far as I can see, there is no gameplay. Colonel Korn is known to have been fighting during Garden Warfare 1 overseas, so a fan theory emerged that he has PTSD, as this is common among soldiers returning from war. I think this would be pretty heavy for a kids game though, so I personally wouldn't give this much credit. I could not find anything at all about this one. If you know what this means, please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much. Bling Chomper was a scrapped variant for the Chomper in Garden Warfare 1 that was abandoned because it wasn't powerful enough. The only proof I can find of this chomper even being thought of is a Twitter post from game director Jason Weeb that he made in response to a now deleted post. Other than that, there is literally nothing online about this chomper. Sprint Smash Weapon is a scrapped ability intended for the Torchwood in Garden Warfare 2. This ability would have functioned in a similar way to All-Stars Sprint Tackle. This must have been pretty far in development, as data miners and modders were able to piece the files into a functioning in-game ability, complete with visual effects, sound, and even ability icons. It's a shame that this never made it into the full game, but considering how strong Torchwood already is, I think it would have made him a bit more overpowered. The Zombopolis red light is this really mysterious glitch on the first point of Zombopolis in Garden Warfare 2. If you jump onto this specific house and angle your camera in this exact way, a red light appears to the right of the screen. There is very little about this online, and I was only able to find another Iceberg video that had this entry come up, but the creator was able to find a screenshot of this glitch occurring. In the full release of Garden Warfare 2, Citron has a weapon called the Orange Beam, which fires an orange laser with overheating mechanics and infinite ammo. However, in trailers released before the game came out, he appears to have a weapon called the Orange Laser, which has 32 ammo and reloads like a normal weapon. King Gnomes is the king of the gnomes in Garden Warfare 2, and is also a boss enemy in the Infinity Time game mode. In this mode you have to fight through waves of robots, and every 5 waves Gnomes sends out an imposter king that you have to defeat. Once you reach the end of this mode, you fight the real Gnomes, but upon defeating him, you discover that this is yet another imposter. This begs the question, who and where is the real King Gnomes? Well, this isn't exactly known, but he must still be around somewhere, as he is responsible for the trials released in the update appropriately called Trials of Gnomes. On Moonbase Z, and also in Seas of Time, you can see some cryogenic capsules dotted around the map with zombies in them. Now, why would zombies need to freeze themselves for years or even decades at a time? I thought all they did was fight the plants and eat brains. Unless Zomboss is planning something far into the future, but even then we know from PVZ 2 that the zombies have time travel tech, so maybe this is just something zombies do to chill out for a bit. Gnome Depot is an Easter egg in Garden Warfare 2 that is a play on words of the American retail store Home Depot. This can be found by going to the play split screen part of the plant backyard spawn area, and if you look at the screens you can see a cactus standing next to a beta version of Rux's Bazaar with the name Gnome Depot. I'm not sure why this is so far down on the list considering it is just a game mechanic, but there was an update a while ago that made it so empty player lobbies were filled with AI bots until real players joined, taking their place. This prevented lobbies from only having a handful of players per side and made it so the game modes could still be enjoyed fully, which was nice. Unfortunately though, you don't get the same XP for killing an AI than you do for a real player, so it can harm XP rates if you're grinding. I think this is referring to how zombie controlled areas of the backyard and the wider game seem to have weird grass and fauna that looks nothing like natural plants that we see on the plant side. Why this happens is unknown, but my guess is that zombies who only seem to want brains probably aren't too interested in keeping their plants watered and well fed. Or they could be feeding them brains and that's why they look like that. In Backyard Battleground in Garden Warfare 2, there's a football pitch minigame where you can play football against an opponent player. However, if you shoot the crowd that spawns when you start the minigame, they'll become hostile and swarm the pitch, similar to pitch invasions in various sports in real life. Brain Slug is a zombie in the Backyard Battleground that gives you a quest to vanquish some plant heroes. Sounds pretty normal, until you realise that the zombie giving you this quest isn't actually a zombie at all. It's the slug on the top of the zombie's head, using the zombie like a parasite. Apparently this slug arrived on this strange planet, indicating that this slug is distant alien life, and that the wider brain slug population is in search of hosts. After completing the first part of its quest, it says that when the invasion comes, it will leech onto the player's head. At the end of the quest, it says that since you've been useful, it may spare the zombies once the invasion comes. When you complete the quest, you get the Brain Slug hat, basically meaning you've started an alien invasion. Look, EA published this game. Of course the packs are going to be at least a little bit rigged to encourage you to buy more coins. Seriously though, there are Reddit posts from some users saying they spent upwards of 15 million coins, which is about £380 worth, to get the new characters from the Frontline Fighters DLC. The same Reddit post also mentions that there is allegedly a market of people selling accounts with certain characters on it for real money. So of course EA will rig the packs to get more money out of those guys. This is all definitely 100% speculation though, nothing concrete, all alleged, you know. There's a fair amount of evidence to suggest that imps are treated as lesser zombies by the other zombies. Namely, the imp farm you can find underneath the zombie base that is pretty much an ant farm for imps, almost as if they're treated like pets. There's also an imp that's kept in a zoo cage in one of the multiplayer maps. It's pretty clear they aren't treated the same at all. Well, we know from PVZ 2 that both plants and zombies can time travel, and according to the lore, zombies have been around since the beginning of time. But humans still exist in this universe, as seen by the existence of Crazy Dave and the humans in the Garden Warfare comics. However, periods of history that were created by humans, like the ancient Romans and Egyptians, and even prehistoric periods like the age of the dinosaurs, have all been wiped, and instead replaced by plants and zombies. In the Colosseum map you'll find ancient Roman zombie emperors, and in Seeds of Time, which is meant to be a historically accurate theme park, you'll find dinosaurs with the heads of chompers and pea shooters. So the PVZ universe is either an alternate universe where humans took a back seat in evolution and history, or the time travel shenanigans of the plants and zombies completely messed up the timeline. In Backyard Battleground, looking up at the moon will reveal a zombie face etched into the surface. Now, this could just be the zombie bases they have up there to extract minerals, but think about what minerals they're extracting. That's right, brains, or as they call them, zirconium crystals. Now, why would a seemingly inanimate piece of rock have brain crystals within it? The only plausible explanation is that the moon is alive, and the zombies are making a terrible mistake. Right, okay, hear me out on this one. I promise this does have a real explanation. The stickerbook description of the plasma pea states that every pea is an entire universe within itself. This means that every time a pea is shot by plasma pea, a big bang is occurring in that pea, and a universe is created. Yeah, that's the law. I think it's pretty clear. If plasma pea can create universes on a whim, then plasma pea is God. Well, or at least to those universes. Well, that was the iceberg. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what your favourite entry was in the comments. Keep on gaming, and I will see you all soon. Bye.